There he is. That's our giant. The last time we saw this guy, he was a 4-star. But he has grown to a 5-star. And once again, our first shot with one of these brand new rifles is going to be on a 5-star trophy. Let's get lined up on this thing and take him down. The last time we saw this herd, there was 3 4-star bucks with the potential to grow to be 5-star giants. And now we have seen that one of them did make it to that 5-star rating. And now as we sit up here with our Remington 7600 pump-action rifle chambered in 270, we get ready to take down the second 5-star buck with one of the brand new rifles. And hopefully there will be even more in the future, as we know for a fact that there is 2 other 4-star deer in this herd that could eventually become just as big as this guy. And I think now it's time to finally put this giant to rest. We've moved up a good 10 to 20 meters and now have a perfect shot on this absolute beast. Let's go ahead and get him down. And just like that, we have an absolute giant buck going down from what seems to be a perfect shot. There he is. A 5-star mule deer on the ground once again with a brand new rifle. And so far, I'm liking this rifle just as much as I was the 30-06, though it definitely has slightly less power. And though I did say in the beginning of this video that this was going to be the first shot with this thing, kind of was, but also kind of wasn't. So we did do a live stream with this rifle recently, but this is the first shot that we have took in a video. And it is the first 5-star trophy that we have took with this rifle as well. And so far, I really like it. I think it's a really good addition to the game. Both this and the 30-06 are very good rifles for the animals that they're meant to take down. And this giant 5-star buck is one of the ones that we saw in the last video. So let's get a good look at him and get ready to claim him, as I do believe this was the 5-star one. I don't think we shot the wrong one, and yeah, this guy definitely looks like a giant 5-star mule deer. What a beauty at 97% genetics. An absolute monster. Let's see what the trophy rating is. 459.9. Wait a second. I could have swore 460 was the 5-star trophy rating. Something happened there, but I guess it was just so close that it counted. So that's very interesting, but still, 270 did great on it. Put him down super quick. Yeah, it does look like 460 is the 5-star rating, or at least the beginning of 5-star rating, so I guess that one was just so close that it ended up making it anyway at 459.9. So regardless, still a 5-star trophy, albeit it was very low on the 5-star rating, but we got a couple more opportunities to get a 5-star buck, so hopefully we can grow 2 more giants. So now that we took down that giant mule deer, let's take a moment to go over what I really like and what I don't like about this rifle. After using it for a good 2 hours on live stream the other day, hunting a variety of different things like chamois, roe deer, red deer, and things like that. And overall, I think this is a very good rifle. Now, there's a couple things that I'm not the biggest fan of, and we'll get to those later. However, I do want to say this is definitely one of the better Class 5 rifles in the game. It even does well on stuff like red deer. It took it down just a little bit slower than the 30-06 and the 350 did, but it still did incredibly well, and I think that is going to make it a pretty popular choice for a lot of people if you want to use like maybe a 270 and then a smaller rifle for the small game and the birds on Transylvania. I think it'll do very well. I haven't tested it on bears yet, but with how good it did on the red deer, I could imagine it'll still do good enough on a bear if you need to take one with it. It actually has a very, very fast fire rate, which is nice, and the pump action is what causes that to be a thing. Being able to fire it relatively quick makes this a good gun if you're trying to take 2 animals from one herd, and we'll probably try that a little bit later in the video, because this is one of the few rifles that actually has the capabilities of taking more than one animal if you're quick enough with your aim. It actually does pretty good in that aspect, and it also has very good accuracy over range. That's another thing that I've really noticed. I was able to take like 400 and 500 meter shots on Chamois without using the Hunter Sense dot, and did pretty well on the majority of the shots. And really, the only downsides that I've noticed as of now is that it can't be used on stuff the size of roe deer, which I would like to be able to use it on a roe deer, because it's definitely something that you could use on them in real life, and I definitely know that some people would be using it on them, as it's not so insanely big to where it would cause too much damage to the meat. At least, I don't believe so. You guys can correct me in the comments if I'm wrong on that, but I'm pretty sure that this would be a pretty usable caliber on something the size of a roe deer, so it is kind of interesting that you can't really use it on them and get full score in the game, or not full score, but the full hunt rating. And really, the only other downside that I have found so far is that it would be cool to have some other, like, coloration options for those that don't like the wood grain stock. I personally do like the wood grain, but I could definitely see some people maybe preferring something like a polymer stock, maybe even a polymer stock that's camo. I could definitely see a few people probably wanting those, but overall, it's a very good gun, and I really don't have much negative to say about it. Let's get lined up on one of these mule deer and see how it does on them from this angle. It did very good on our 5-star, and once again, it did very good on this one as well. When I originally saw that they were adding a 270 into the game, I couldn't wait to get my hands on it, because that is actually the rifle that I use in real life. I own a bolt-action 270, I believe it's a Marlin XL7, and so I always wanted them to add a 270 into Way of the Hunter, and the fact that it was a pump action made it even more exciting to me, because I've always wanted to own a pump action rifle, and the fact that they added one into Way of the Hunter was just really exciting, and I'd like to see more hunting games add pump-action rifles in the future, because they really are a very cool type of rifle, and not a lot of people even know about them or use them, so I'd love to see more of that in hunting games, as I do think they're very good rifles. They fire extremely fast, and just overall are amazing. Now, let's take a slightly farther shot just to show off that this gun is pretty accurate even at slightly farther ranges. Let's just go ahead and do this right here. And that will be a dead deer. I believe that was a whitetail. So there's our whitetail buck. I don't know what star rating this guy's going to be, as we did take the shot from over the distance where you can actually see what their rating is, but we did get a spine shot, which that makes sense as I was a little bit high on my aiming point, but even with a 7MS crosswind, we did still hit pretty much where we were aiming, maybe back just a tiny bit, but overall it did very well, and that was a 44% genetics 1-star mature buck, so a good one to take as well. Well, unfortunately, it looks like our 4-star bull elk has passed away and is now replaced by a 1-star young, so that is sad to see. It's unfortunate he's gone, but we will still be able to take out one of these elk to give you guys an idea of the power of the 270 versus an elk. So let's take down this 1-star adult. And that looked like it was a good shot. Yeah, there he goes. He's going down. Pretty quickly as well for something like a 270. So I'd say this thing will be adequate to take them down. You will have to wait a little bit for them to die, which is to be expected, but it still does good enough to where he's going to die somewhat quick. But as I did mention earlier in the video, I really wouldn't recommend shooting anything bigger than a red deer with this thing, because that's primarily what it's meant to take down. Deer-sized game, with red deer being one of the larger things you would want to take with it on a regular occasion. It did pretty well on them, but pretty much anything a little bit bigger than a red deer, and you start to see some issues where kill time becomes quite long, and in most scenarios you'd just be better off using another rifle, given if it's the only rifle you have on you and you want to carry a shotgun with you as well. It can definitely get the job done if you're not too worried about having to wait a few extra seconds for your elk to die. Virtually every time you put this rifle up against something the size of a deer, it does incredibly well. As we have seen with almost every shot that we have took today on something of deer size, and we're also going to show you guys the speed of this rifle as well on this mountain goat right here, as I do think this is the one that we hit, but the fire rate of this thing is actually quite impressive. Though my aim is slightly less impressive. But regardless of how subpar my aim can be when I need it to be the best, you can still understand why this gun is going to be a favorite of quite a lot of people. Fast fire rate, good enough power to take down stuff like mountain goats, mule deer, whitetail, bighorn, and even red deer, while also just looking really amazing. And once again, one of our 4 stars that we saw in the last video has turned into a 5-star. We've got a 5-star Bighorn right in front of us, and another good test for this rifle to just see how good it can be at slightly longer ranges. Obviously, you can shoot way farther than this in Way of the Hunter, but in most cases, you won't be taking shots too much farther than 300 or 400 meters, so this is a good showcase of the performance you could expect. Now, we do unfortunately have a slight wind, and he is moving from left to right, so we're going to try our best. And just like that, he's going down. That looked like a pretty solid hit, and yeah, he's going to be bleeding out. The question is, how fast will he start to go down? And there is our mountain goat right here. Let's take a look at him, and though my shooting was definitely subpar, I imagine that's why he actually ran a good distance, so that was definitely not the gun's fault, that was the shooter's fault, and sadly, my subpar shots just did not do what we needed it to do. And I actually shot the wrong mountain goat as well. That's sad. This was going to be a 5-star. I thought that this was the 2-star mature I looked at, but I guess this guy walked in front of him last second when I was messing around with the different angles for this video. So that's sad, but, you know, it is what it is, I guess. There he is, our 5-star Bighorn sheep. I do believe we probably only got single lung. It didn't seem like this was a double lung hit, as he did run a decent bit away from where we originally shot him. And yeah, it was just a right lung hit, so once again, that was on me, just not having great aim today. But we will continue shooting a few other Bighorn and mountain goats so you guys can get a better idea of the performance of it, as this was not a good showcase on my part. Terrible shooting, though we still did get vitals somehow. We barely clipped the right lung with the cavity damage, so that's what took him down. And you know what's crazy is this elk barely ran anywhere. We shot it 60 meters away from where it died, so I think that alone just shows that this can take down stuff like an elk and do very well, provided you actually make a good shot. And as we can see here, it does seem like just hitting one singular lung probably would have killed it, though hitting that second one killed it much quicker. Let's take a look at all of the statistics through here. In the hunt area, it says that it fled 54 meters before dying, so that is honestly a pretty quick kill time. When you think about it, that's very good for the 270, and it also just highlights how bad my shots on the mountain goat and bighorn were. When you get a well-placed shot, this rifle does great on elk. Like, way better than even what I was talking about earlier. I remember as we were watching it walk away and finally die, I even said that elk would be kind of on the higher end, like higher limits of what you would want to shoot with the 270, and that in most cases it would probably be better to take another gun, but as you can see, it's still a pretty good option if you want to use it on them. Again, definitely not as good as a 300 Magnum, a 350, or a 338, but still good enough to where if you want to use this as your main rifle, you can totally take down pretty much any animal in the game with it. And that is going to be it for today's video. Let me know down in the comments, what do you think of this rifle? Is it a gun that you're going to use quite often, or is it maybe a gun that you're only going to use on rare occasions? And lastly, is there anything else that you guys would like me to cover when it comes to this rifle right here? With that being said, if you're brand new to the channel, be sure to subscribe, click that like button, and ring that notification bell so that you guys will never miss any of the future content. And with that being said, I will see you all in the next one. Peace!